Good evening and a very warm welcome to this special broadcast brought to you by SABC News. My name is Vuyo Mvogo. Tonight we're talking to President Jacob Zuma following his State of the Nation address on Thursday. Mr. President, thank you very much for agreeing to talk to us and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Well, let me start by saying, well, the State of the Nation address was generally well received. And it's the second year in a row that you're having that kind of a feedback. Is there something that you've been doing over the past couple of years differently from the way you've done it before?
Well, firstly, the State of the Nation address is the statement by government on the plan and the programs that the government is going to follow. You will, of course, accept the fact that ever since this administration came, we've been discussing and working out the way government could do things differently, but also what kind of programs that we could really implement. In other words, to put the programs within the parameters where we could be certain that this we can implement. I think we've been saying, how do we move forward? How does government create an enabling environment for all to participate, the private sector, everybody else, so that the country is able to move forward? So it is as a result of the conclusions of the discussions within government. As you know, we always have the Lekgotla, which generally, particularly the General Lekgotla, tends to shape the kind of programs the government is going to be making. So it is, in a sense, a plan that comes out of that, the program of government. I think we have been trying all the time to specifically deal with specific challenges so that we are able to have a program that can be doable.
Would you say that the noticeable change, certainly from where we see it as the public, is coming from either perhaps the way government collates information or the way discussions are conducted or have been conducted over the past couple of years? I'm trying to find that which has made a difference in the way the State of the Nation address has been articulated.
I think it is from both. You will recall that what we have been saying, we needed government to be in a position to coordinate things more, to move away from an emphasis of the government departments and levels of government operating differently. In silos, even if they were doing the right things. But they would not make the necessary impact or be noticeable because they were done differently without coordination. So what we have been trying to do, how do we bring this together? That will involve a discussion. That will involve many of us accepting the fact that we are in one government, not government in different particles, wherein I do my own things in my own way. I think because that has been the debate that has been going on, part of what we did, having gone through a number of Lekgotlas where we discuss work of government, coordination, etc., I specifically felt no matter what you say, out of the discussion, people go back to their cocoons and they do what they would be able to do best. So the coordination, people would have a sense that if it is something there, it's not me, you know, that kind of feeling that you
contributing to a much bigger picture.
You see, then we've been, in a sense, inculcating a culture that making the coordination, you are in fact at your best rather than you as an individual. But because this has been not an easy one, it's like that in all governments, we then established the PICC, the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission, particularly if we dealt with the infrastructure as one of the very critical challenges that the country is facing. That then brought the coordination in a manner that it did not depend on individual departments, but it depended on really the presidency participating in leading that process.
Now, of course, there have been those who criticized your address, saying it lacks detail.
Well, people can criticize, and they've got a right to do so. This is a democratic country. I don't think you can have in the world a president who go into the details of programs to implement. Otherwise, the president will be doing the work of the departments. I think what happens at the State of the Nation Address is to provide a broader direction, very clear direction, and then put the kind of things that you need to do. Then you have departments which are led by ministers who then come in with the details. As you would know, there will be a debate, for an example, of the State of the Nation Address. Even then, the departments are not going to come with all the details, but there's going to be a budget speech that is going to come that must also talk to the State of the Nation Address and talk, therefore, to the costing and talk, therefore, to what the departments will do. And each department will then have an opportunity to elaborate on the details, which will then be the details filling in the broader kind of an approach that the State of the Nation Address. Those who would say the speech lacks the details should have sat there until 12 or the whole night for me to get the details of all 34 departments. It would be impossible.
Now, the other criticism, of course, is that we have good plans and we're never short of plans, but where we fail is in the implementation.
I think what I've just said talks to the point I've just made. Because if we talk about government with cultures of working in silos, certainly the question of the implementation will vary in terms of which department is capable of doing X, Y, Z. The very fact that we have created the PICC, we have actually emphasized on that question, that the question of implementation is going to be crucial. And I'm sure people might not have noticed what we did as this administration when we came in. For an example, we established a department which we call the Performance Monitoring and Evaluation. I'm sure people didn't realize what we're trying to do. That, in fact, will talk to the issue of implementation, because it says we are going to monitor ourselves in terms of what performance do we do on what is given to us, and we'll continuously evaluate that. So there is nobody who's going to be sitting in a corner not being seen what they're doing. And this time around, because we have this very clear infrastructure program which is being driven from the presidency point of view, in other words, the question of implementation is an issue we've taken into account to say, in this way, there is nothing that is going to be left to chance. Everything is going to be done. Therefore, the implementation itself is going to be up there, is going to be the thing that we're going to be saying, have we made progress? Now, I am looking at a point that if, for an example, you talk about the Lekgotla must report, give a scorecard of what has happened since our plan and where we are. And that is going to be also a feature in the State of the Nation Address. We are going to be reporting on what we have said we'll do. So the question, therefore, of the implementation is going to be uppermost in our programs.
Very briefly, Mr. President, before we go to a quick ad break, do we have the skills necessary or that will ensure that we implement the infrastructure rollout program that you spoke about on Thursday?
We discussed that matter a great deal as we were getting into this, and we realized that yes, we do, but at times some of our skills are misplaced. So it's going to be the question of really vigorously saying, how do we get the skills that we want? If there are skills that we do not have, we are going to look for them and bring them, because our very clear determination is to implement the plan.
Any specific areas where you think we may have to go outside for specific skills?
Part of which is engineers. Engineers, for an example, some of the engineers are doing the paper pushing in offices instead of being there to deal with things that need engineering. But if they are not enough, because even engineers, they will be of specific disciplines. If there are disciplines that we believe we need more, we'll certainly hunt for them.
We are going to take a quick ad break, and we'll be back right after this short break.